I've also seen lots of explanations on TikTok, Facebook. Yeah, some things can be kind of like misleading. So I would like a confirmation because I believe more on OSM. They never mislead. They tell it as it is. It's factual facts. I've been seeing these videos, these video clips of the flat Earth, round Earth. Yeah, it's kind of like a debate. So I would like to know how the Earth is. Is it round? Is it flat? Yeah, all that, and also the AIDS. There's a lot that's going on. So I just need an explanation there, sir. Thank you.
Okay, right. It's actually neither. The Earth is like an oblong shaped. You know, like a peanut. It's more like a peanut shape, and that's because when we say what we call the Earth, right? It's all about the words. This is why we have to always remember that we're speaking English, and words have a definition, even though they say it's dictionary. Deals with diction, which is really not defining what the word is, but the part of the planet that people call Earth, right? People will look at the Earth and say you have waters or the seas or the oceans, and say that the parts that rise above the water are called Earth. But in reality, they're connected underneath the water, right? The water, what we refer to as the deep, is so deep that there are parts of it that no human can actually go, because again, you need certain technology and certain crafts to be able to do that. And in these parts, there are underwater cities and civilizations that have been there for millions of years. How do we know this? Because we know about the Anunnaki, and Enki was terraforming the planet. Enki was a water being, right? There were other beings that were already here, right? Before beings came onto land. So I'm saying that to say, when you use English and you say flat, something that is flat does not go up and down, and you know, like the mountains, and then go deep under the water and then come up. So the part you're calling Earth is not flat. So they really need to change that name, right? Because if the Earth was flat, you wouldn't have mountains and different trajectories of what you're calling Earth. What they're saying is that it's a dome, right? There's a dome, which again, if you look at it, if you have a flat surface and you have a dome, are you saying that there's nothing under the what you're calling Earth? But we know there is, because we walk on the Earth, right? The parts we can walk on, but then when you go on the, say, to the ocean, you can't walk on the sea. But if you drop down and keep going down, you may come and hit some Earth, as I've just explained. So when you ask flat Earth people what is on the other side of the dome, or you just saying it's half a dome, what they're really talking about is the fact that there is a curvature, right? And this curvature, which especially when you look at, say, a rainbow, because the rainbow will curve, and that is because there is an actual craft, right, called a crystal city, which is placed in a certain position on the Earth where light is reflecting, right? And when you're talking about what they call the firmament, you're talking about the different layers of what they call the sky, right? Because when you say up there, like we say God or Allah is up there, and we would ask the questions as Sabians, where up there? Because if you ever flew in an aeroplane, you will see there's different levels of sky, because you'll be flying and you look down and you will see sky. You look up, you see sky, right? So there are different levels, and you have these layers, like the color of the rainbow, and the last one being ultraviolet, or what people say purple. But that is because when you put light through a prism, as I've just explained, the craft called a crystal, it will break down lights. And if you look at a prism, you put light through it, it separates it into the different colors because you're dealing with the different vibrations. So the planet itself has been destroyed, or parts of it have been destroyed by accidents throughout the millions of years, i.e. meteorites hitting it. There was one, 17 million years ago, 24 billion years ago, different time periods where the planet has been hit. One of those catastrophes or accidents was the accident with Nibiru and the planet known as Meldek, which ultimately then hit what we call Tamat at the time, which now is called Earth. And they had to, the beings that were responsible for the accident, this is the Anunnaki, right? They terraformed it. Enki especially was given the job because it was a water planet. Enki was given that job because he was half reptilian anyway. Remember that his mother being Id is a draconian, right? And his father being Anu. So he came and he was terraforming the earth. This is where in Genesis it picks up where you're hearing that it tells you the Spirit of God was hovering upon the face, right? The face is like the waters of the deep. The deep is water. There's actually a movie called The Deep. If you have any doubts that when you're saying the deep, you're talking about water. So I'm saying that to say that they terraformed it. They imported different things to this planet, like different trees, different insects, different things to fix the planet from it being completely destroyed. This is why the ecology of the planet affects different people in different ways, where people may have different types of allergies because these like trees and insects and certain things are not from here. Earth itself is a biosphere, right? It has many atmosphere within it. This is why a lot of beings can inhabit the earth, because you have beings in the waters, you have beings in the skies, you have beings that are above it, you have beings, and there's so much different water and resources on the planet that different extraterrestrials can coexist and they like. So the flat earth people is like a distraction, because once upon a time people were being unalive for saying that the earth wasn't flat. When people were saying the earth was round, they would say that you're crazy. And now you have all types of technology, but you'll always have people who will tell you something different. All types of technology, satellites, and etc., that, people can use to say, well, how do we get all of these? You got the Hubble telescope that's been launched. You got, prior to that, you had you got the James Webb telescope that has been launched recently that can look further into space and provide data and information about our universe. Yeah. Before that, you had as I said, the Hubble telescope. So people that are real scientists, people that are intelligent, people that really study these things will tell you the Earth is not flat in the way that the flat earthers try to, push. And then you will also realize how nature works. When something is consistent in nature, things are curves, things are round, they spiral outwards. You look at the shapes of things, there's no way. If the norm was it to be straight lines and flat, then everything in nature would be that way. But the things in nature, you look at a tree has curves, it's a cycle. You look at the Fibonacci, that the way things grow, everything is aerodynamically more circles than there will be flat and squares.